Joining in. So thanks everyone for joining. My name is Justin Tippett. As I said, there's a lot of people joining us from overseas on this course who have registered. So if you're watching this on the recording, you're just as welcome as the people who are here with us live today. So regardless, thanks for joining us. If you don't know much about CX Central, we're the largest resource for contact center and CX people in Australia. Just literally hundreds of free articles and lots of resources that you can download for free, or hopefully just helping people get their head around all things contact centers and CX. And I also run CX skills. So we run a bunch of different training courses, all specializing in contact centers and CX. Marc does a couple of those courses with us, and you'll hear about Marc shortly, of course. And for some of you, you probably know me through Call Center Legends, or maybe you don't know me, but you follow the page, and I do lots of stupid memes about call center life. So if you haven't, if you need a laugh about all things call centers, jump over to that Facebook page. But enough about me, because you're all here today to learn about the amazing traits of the most important role, I always say, in the contact centers, the team leader. And to do that is Marc Carriere, who, well, Marc's got decades of experience in contact centers. And it's fair to say he's, as much as he knows all things contact centers, he specializes in all things contact center team leaders. And I think that gives us a unique insight into all the challenges that not only team leaders face, but also managers face as well. So Marc will be running the presentation today. I'll be standing by, I'll be in the chat. So if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. And of course, Marc's happy to take some questions as we go along and at the end as well. So once again, thanks for joining. And Marc, over to you.
Well, thank you. Excuse me. I will just firstly say thank you to everybody for coming along. I really appreciate your time, and I understand when you take somebody's time, you take something of value. So I just want to make sure that I provide a lot of value for your valuable time today. And again, as Justin mentioned, the slide deck, will have that for you. You can just send me an email. I'll put that in towards the end of the presentation, and we'll go. Now, let me just see if I can. Oh, and just in case I couldn't get my dog in the room, so I had to put him outside. So if you hear him barking, you'll know what that's all about, okay? So let me just pull this up. People, can they see my screen now, Justin?
Nope, I can't.
Oh, okay. I think what I've got to do is share my screen. You made me a co-presenter, didn't you?
Yeah. Gave you all the power, Marc.
There we go.
There we go. Now we're seeing things.
Now we're seeing. Now you got it?
Yep, we're all good.
Perfect. Okay, again, everyone. Hello, I'm Marc Carriere, and again, I want to welcome you to this free workshop. As Justin was saying earlier, certainly in my belief, team leaders are the backbone of any call center operation, and amazing team leaders can either make their team soar, while ineffective or even toxic team leaders can crush them. So, obviously it's imperative that you have the right leaders in place from the start. Now, we're going to be on for about, 30, 40 minutes. And before this training ends, I'm going to reveal to you the top 10 traits, characteristics, and practices of amazing team leaders that you need to develop in your current team leaders, or certainly what you need to look for in prospective candidates, whether you're recruiting from within or from outside. And I promise, if you develop your existing team leaders with these, or select new ones with these particular traits, characteristics, and practices, you'll be able to finally say goodbye to the stress and frustration of continuously missing your targets and KPIs every month. And I bet that sounds good, doesn't it? I bet you'd love that, wouldn't you? My goal at the end of this workshop is you're going to learn exactly that. And if so, then this training would have been a success. And I'm also going to show you the amazing team leader scoring model that I developed that makes it so easy to identify these traits in current or prospective team leader candidates, as well as a number of interview questions to help, for you to ask to help you identify these traits from candidates that you're actually talking to. So, sound good to you? Yeah, bet it does. Okay. And as I said at the end of the workshop, you'll also receive my email address where you can send me an email and just mention you were here or were reviewing on the replay, and for me to send you a copy of the deck, and I'd be happy to. So just one thing, if you would please, if you got your mobile phone out or have Skype on or Facebook, please close them down, because, I need your attention today, because we're going to cover a lot. And of course, if you're not paying attention, none of this is going to help you at all. So, you need to make sure you're paying attention. All right. Okay, now just a little bit about me. I've spent the last 35 years honing my call center experience in the trenches, running marketing departments, consulting to small to large businesses, coaching and mentoring their team leaders and call center managers, as well as speaking at international conferences and actually even judging entrants for a call center, International Call Center Association, for their annual awards. Actually, I've done that twice, two different ones. I've written literally dozens of articles in a lot of the major call center industry magazines I'm sure you'd be aware of. And of course, having owned a call center myself and years running them around the world, I'm teaching or coaching staff that have won Call Center Manager of the Year and Telemarketer of the Year awards. Very well aware of the top traits and characteristics and practices of amazing team leaders. And, when it comes to identifying these traits in team leaders over the years, I've seen a lot of amazing team leaders, like Chantel. And this isn't Chantel's picture, okay? I promised I'd mention her name, but she didn't want me to put her picture up there. So I found a nice one for her. And, Chantel was really good at taking calls before she was a team leader. And like most team leaders, when a position came up, she was promoted based on the success as a frontline operator. And of course, this makes sense on a lot of levels. Above average operators, they know the organization well. They've got a proven track record of hitting or beating their targets and KPIs. And the thinking is that, they should be able to transfer those skill sets across to their team leaders, or rather their team members, and be a positive role model. Now, however, just because someone has been a reliable operator, performer, doesn't mean that they necessarily have the right mix of traits and characteristics to be a really good team leader. I mean, that, as I'm sure most of you would agree, are totally different skill sets. And, fortunately for my clients, where I met Chantel, aside from her success with her calls, she just naturally had the right traits and characteristics, as you can see here. On the flip side, I've seen a lot of bad choices for team leaders. And, just by selecting a really good performer from the front line, people who didn't have the right stuff to lead a team or have any help or support to effectively lead a team. And when you make a bad choice, you can actually end up having a team leader who turns out to be toxic and negatively impact the well-being of the team. They wear down job engagement, accelerate burnout of the staff, and they can emotionally exhaust their team members by stifling communication and cooperation, and generally destroy the team's morale. Which leads to increased absenteeism, higher quit rates, not to mention lower productivity and damage to the customer experience and customer satisfaction. I'm sure we've all seen that in different call centers that we've worked in over the years. Now, after doing this over the years, I've figured out that there are 10 key traits, characteristics, and practices amazing team leaders have. And the most important to me is ethics and values. Amazing team leaders follow an appropriate and effective set of core values and beliefs during both good and bad times. They always act in line with those values and reward the right values with their team and disapprove of others. Basically, they walk and talk with the practice that they preach. The next key ingredient is integrity and trust. And, they are widely trusted because they're seen as direct and truthful people. They can present the unvarnished truth in an appropriate and helpful manner. They keep confidences, they admit their mistakes, and they don't misrepresent themselves for personal gain. Let's get myself some water. The next is they have great interpersonal skills that allow them to relate to all kinds of people to build constructive and effective relationships. They're easy to approach and talk to because, they make an effort to put other people at ease. They can be warm, pleasant, gracious, and they're sensitive to and patient with the interpersonal anxieties of others. They practice attentive and active listening. They hear people out and can accurately restate the opinions of others, even if they don't agree with them. They're tolerant with team members and processes and try to understand the people and the data before making judgments and acting. They share their thoughts and admit their mistakes and shortcomings, as I mentioned, and are open about their personal beliefs and feelings, which makes it easy for people to get to know them. And they have a positive and constructive sense of humor that is appropriately funny. There's a lot of people who think they're funny, but as I say, comedy is a very serious business. And if you get it wrong, you can really put a lot of people offside, particularly these days with all the political correctness that's going on. So, and of course they can laugh at themselves and, with others and use humor to ease tension. They're also very time efficient. It's a characteristic they've developed so they can zero in on the critical areas and stay focused. And because they value time and use it efficiently, they concentrate on the more important priorities and put trivial ones aside to get more done in less time. They also efficiently organize people and resources to get the important things done first. They do that by developing schedules and setting assignments, while all the time anticipating and adjusting for problems and roadblocks. They simply break work down into the process steps, set the objectives and goals against these milestones, and evaluate the results and measure performance against them. The next is being action oriented. Amazing team leaders enjoy working hard and are full of energy for the things that they see as challenging. And although they prefer to have things planned out first, they're not afraid of acting with a minimum of planning, so they tend to seize more opportunities than others. They have perseverance and a need to finish, so they rarely give up before finishing, especially when facing resistance or setbacks. And they're poised and cool under pressure. They don't become defensive or irritated when things get tough. They can handle stress, and be counted on to hold things together, during both, tough times. They can shift gears comfortably when change is required. And because they don't get upset, when things are up in the air, they don't get knocked off balance by unexpected or show frustration when resistors are blocked. Basically, they're seen as a mature and calming influence in a crisis. They also demonstrate leadership courage. They don't hold back on anything that needs to be said, but do so in an appropriate, directed manner. And when providing positive or corrective feedback to team members, they let them know where they stand and aren't afraid to take necessary negative action when facing up to people, problems, or situations. Essentially, they are effective team builders. The people like working with because they create strong morale and spirit in the team. They're people builders who generally care about people and are concerned about their work and not work problems and show real empathy to others. They're aware of each team member's goals and where they want to go within the company, and they provide challenging stretch goals for them to work towards. Create development plans, provide them with frequent coaching and training to help them get there. Especially those that really need the help. They also created an environment where team members want to do their best and make each one of them feel that their work is important, and motivate them by finding their individual hot buttons and use that to get the best out of them. And one of the things that I've seen over the years and found myself is that particularly with people in the front line, they aren't necessarily all coming to work to put in their 6 or 8 hour shifts, or however long the shifts are, solely because they have an insatiable need to serve the company. I mean, they are there mostly because they have needs at home and goals that they want to achieve, and they see working at the company as a means to an end. But obviously, if they feel really engaged within that company, they feel more connection to it. So the thing is, particularly in sales situations, if there's commission-based and things like that, it's always good to key in on what it is that they are wanting to achieve for themselves outside of the work environment. And if you can key, or your team leaders can key in on that and tie that back into how the job can help them get there, I mean, that's just an example of how an amazing team leader really ties that in, and particularly with the empathy in the building. And they also show that they care and show interest in the lives of their teammates outside of work. I mean, they know their partners' names. They know when their birthdays are coming up. Excuse me. They know their kids' names. They know what sports the kids are into or what hobbies they have, and they talk to their team members about these sorts of things, and bring a more personal connection into the environment as well. So it's not just all about work, and of course they know about their work concerns, and they really listen to what those are and deal with those as they can. As well, they also build strong relationships with their peers by quickly finding common ground and solving problems with a minimum of noise for everybody's benefit. They can certainly be candid with their peers when representing their own interests, but are fair and seen as a team player who is cooperative and collaborative, that earns trust. Just all the speaking makes you thirsty. Lastly, they respond and relate well to bosses, and would work especially hard for a good boss who's been there before. And because they like to learn, they're coachable and easy to challenge and develop when learning from bosses, especially ones that are really good ones. Now, as I promised, I'm going to show you the amazing team leader scoring model that I developed and provide just for my clients and students of my courses. Usually, you guys are a bit of an exception. So let me see if I can just pull that down, pull that up, and we'll quickly go through that. Okay, can you see that, Justin? No? Okay, I'll have to go back.
I'm still seeing your PowerPoint at this stage.
Yeah, okay. I think what I've got to do is go back in here. Wait a minute. Nope. I think I got to share screen again, but I'm having trouble getting to the controls.
They're there somewhere.
Yeah, they are.
Well, maybe that wasn't water that you've been drinking, Mark. It's been something a bit stronger.
Yeah, exactly. The way things have been going.
It's cocktail hour somewhere in the world, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll stop sharing and then I'll share again. Share screen. Where are we? Here we are. There we go. All right, how's that?
There we go. Yep. I can see that.
Okay, great. Now, I should tell you, I was working with a client years ago, and we were looking at, coming up with some criteria for selecting team leaders. And I did a lot of research, and I came across the Wamminger's 63 traits, practices, and characteristics of amazing leaders generally. And you should have a look for that. It's a really good article and well-used criteria. So what I did is I basically went through it and I deconstructed it. And I identified what I believe were the 43 traits that actually applied to amazing team leaders. And what I did is I replicated those here in the model. And, you know, we've talked about some of those things here today, action-orientated, effectively cope with change, approachable, caring about direct reports, command skills, composure, timely decision making, developing team members, you know, ethics and values, humor, all those sorts of things. And what I did is I created a criteria rating for each of those. So, and of course, you know, my students and people I consult with, they can change this criteria rating to any that they feel is more important than others, okay? So what happens is they do that there, and then all the way down, we come down, we see there's 403 points that somebody can get. And so when they're looking at your team leaders, you put your team leaders across these columns here, and then you start rating them on a score of 0 to 10. Now, oftentimes you may find that you may not know a team leader well enough, or maybe they've just started. So the thing is, often it's good to have a few people involved in this exercise to do that. If you're a call center manager or you know, a director of operations or something like that, you know, you would bring in the call center manager, you'd bring in supervisors and people like that, senior team leaders, and you would sit down and go through this. Obviously, I wouldn't invite a team leader I was scoring into the process, but the idea is that, excuse me, you can identify based on the scores how they did overall, you know, down here. So that total will come there, and then a percentage of 100%. Okay. Now, what's great about this sort of thing is that it identifies those areas that not only an individual team leader may need some help with, it gives you great ideas on what soft skill areas you need to work on with particular individuals, but you may also find others that are within the group that have similar ratings. So then you can look at developing training programs or other activities that will help develop these skills within these people, and you can start measuring the process and see how they're going. And a lot of times you would get feedback from HR, you know, in terms of exit surveys that they might do with team members. You know, a lot of team members don't quit the team so much as they quit their team lead, you know, so they can get some feedback from there. So HR might be some people you want to interview there. Also with the interview model, what I did is I grabbed, in my view, the top 15 attributes and practices and characteristics that I feel are important and that I look for. So again, you know, action-oriented, approachable, caring, composure, customer focus, ethics and values, naturally developing, interpersonal skills, listening, of course, motivating, patience, disclosure. Now, what we do here is very similar. You have a rating, and you can decide which criteria has what rating. If there are some attributes that or traits that you think are more important than others, you can have those as a higher rating and others as a lower. And you can have your candidates put here. And then after your interview process with them, you can start scoring them as a group to identify where they are. And then based on their score, you may think that, you know, if somebody doesn't hit 70 or 80%, of what we're looking for in terms of these traits, they're probably not somebody that we'd be that interested in, because they just don't have, the core traits and practices and characteristics that we want in a team leader. And you can do this for both internal or external candidates. So you can do that now, but you need some information to get you there, and that's where these questions come in. And I've come up with 26 different questions. They're all open-ended. Some of these are fairly basic. For example, tell me about yourself. Pretty much everybody uses that one or tries to remember to use it. And I think this is a very good one because, and I put some notes in here to help people understand why it's good to ask that question and what you're looking for. So, obviously, when you ask them, tell me about yourself, you want somebody who can think on their feet and, give you ideas and be very quick and crisp with that. And it also gives you a preview into their other, core skills and the personality type. Another one I like to ask, but not too many people do, is why should we hire you? What I'm looking there for is to see how confident they are. And I want them to, sell themselves to me. I want them to, let me know what particular skills that they may have that I'm not that aware of that are that significant with them. Tell me about a time you showed leadership. Let's see, there's another one here that I really liked. It's, tell me about what your peers would say about you, which is a very interesting question to ask, because oftentimes you're going to get people that are just a bit humble, modest, and they don't want to blow their trumpet, maybe because they feel, that that's something that they have, it doesn't make them look good. But of course, in an interview situation, you really have to, blow your trumpet. Nobody else is going to be there to do it. So this is a good question to ask, so they can talk about themselves in a positive light based on what they feel their peers would say. So it doesn't sound like they're bragging. Okay. So actually make some notes. And, after you've gone through the interview process, I wouldn't ask all 26 in the first interview. What I would do is I would get, several questions that are core. And if you're having a second interview, I'd be looking at more questions that we're following up, and that's what I could go with there. So does anybody have any questions on this at this point? Or is it as clear as mud? Justin, anybody throwing anything in there?
Silence is golden, I think. So
silence is golden. Okay, perfect. So
everyone's digesting.
They're good. So let me just go back. We're going to have to stop sharing. I'm going to have to pull the other one back up again. There we go. Share. Okay, can you see my screen again? Or is it still showing?
No screen visible at the moment.
All right. I love technology. Okay.
Is that one of the interview questions, Mark? I can see it now.
What's that?
How comfortable are you with technology? Very much a big part of call centers these days, though, isn't it? I mean, I know I was being very flippant, but I often have these debates around, the next call center manager. They come from an IT background or a call center background, right? Because the systems and stuff that people have to get their head around now, not just the contact center system, the CRM systems and workforce planning. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, CRMs particularly. Can you see it now? Yeah. Okay, great. And excuse me, and just so you know, Justin asked me to do a little something special for you all for attending the workshop today. And I have to say, I'm bending my rules a little bit. But if you're interested in getting a copy of the model for yourself, you can download a copy at a huge discount. So Justin's put it up there, and you can thank Justin for that. And so if you want the tool, I think Justin will put the link in the chat box for you to grab it at this ridiculously low price before I change my mind.
But wait, there's more. No, there's really not. But obviously, it's something you can develop yourself. But Mark's put a huge amount of IP into building that. So if you want something that's just it's essentially a spreadsheet in Excel. But as Mark walked you through, it's got all the it's got the questions, it's got the criteria, etc. So if you are looking at recruiting or even just assessing your own internal team leaders, it's literally at half price. It's $50. So it might just save you a whole bunch of time and research. So yeah, the links are in the comments there.
Yeah, I think either or. I mean, particularly, I think it's important to do for the existing team leaders. But if you've got a huge team leader group. I mean, one of my clients we were doing this for, they had 20 team leaders. So, there's a lot of people, and of course, you tend to churn through them, and the last thing you want to do is to do that. And if you've got the right people to begin with, even if they don't have a lot of the, product knowledge or systems knowledge, that you can easily teach. But if they don't have the right characteristics to begin with, you could be putting somebody in there that blows up your team. So, their team. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Now, so there are the 10 top traits and characteristics and practices of amazing team leaders that you need to develop with your current leaders, and certainly what I believe you need to look for in prospective candidates, whether you're hiring from inside or outside. And I promise, the quicker you find team leaders with these attributes or work with them to develop them within themselves, the quicker your contact center will soar. And now all this stuff we've covered, is pretty exciting. And, I hope you believe that it's time well spent. Of course, we couldn't cover everything in a 30-minute workshop, but, and we probably couldn't cover everything, certainly in the interview area, just in one day. And as I promised, we will give you my email address in a minute, and you can have a look at that. Now, just wanted to know, but, how many of you feel like this right now? I know I talk really fast, and I guess the last 30 odd minutes has been fun, but some of you probably have, feel a little like this. Am I right? I'm happy to take your questions now, and I promise I'll stick right here and until we've answered them all for you. Is that fair enough?
So any questions about team leading, or I may as well just throw any contact center question in. What the hell? You got 2 people at no call centers, right? And a few more listening now. So any questions about recruiting or managing, developing team leaders? Pop them in the comments if you don't feel like throwing the video on. I know what it's like, especially when you're at work and everyone's listening in.
Yeah, watching you. What are they doing?
What are they doing? All makes great sense. Thanks, Doxy. That's always good, good feedback. So, Mark, I'm going to ask one question. I know you, while people having to think about whether we want to ask anything. So, question unnoticed, but you did just touch on it before around, it is really hard to recruit at the moment. Everyone I talk to in the industry is just saying how difficult it is to find not only team leaders but frontline agents, whether it's inbound, outbound, whatever. We're all struggling to get resources. And I know you said that that to look for the traits because they can learn the products and services later. At what point do you sort of go, I know you've got that great tool that people can look at, but at what point, does a gut feel kind of still play a role, or do you go, what, I've really got to stick to this criteria that whatever it might be?
Yeah, no, I think, what I really like about the tool is that it helps that gut feel. If you're asking the right questions, if you think it through and say, okay, what is it that we really want? Think about the team members in the team that they will be looking after, or generally, the frontline operators that you bring in. What sort of person gels best with them? What are the attributes? Now, not everybody has, the freedom to do what they want. Oftentimes, you find a lot of centers are fairly regimented. This is the way we do it, and stick within the rails or in the reins. But you still need people who, can really connect with their team. If like I said earlier, people don't often in the call center industry leave the company, they leave their team leader,
Very,
and,
very true. Yep.
yeah, because they come into work and that's the person. And, if you've got somebody who's just sitting at their desk barking at you all day, or really doesn't care, and it is evident that they don't care, and, they take all the accolades, for your hard work, and, they're grinding, they don't give you any help, they don't work with you, you're going to go, you're going to leave. And that's why, you were part of that SMART survey, I think, that they did on that.
Helped write a few questions, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what was here in Australia anyway, I think the typical turnover was around 200%, wasn't it?
No, turnover industry-wide was about 44%, I think it was, in the industry. Team leaders are actually had the highest retention out of every position, which was interesting. But but you're right. I think the reality is there's turnover's high in any role where you don't get along well with your manager, or you're not getting the kudos that you deserve. Whether you're a frontline agent or whether you're a team leader and it's your call center manager doing the same, people leave normally because of their manager, not the organisation. Mark, I wanted to ask you another question that has come through, and one of those was, and I think it's very pertinent given a lot of us are operating remotely at the moment. So the question was, what's the most important attribute for a team leader working remotely from their team?
I think it still gets down to being connected, and somebody who's taking the time to connect through whatever means you're using, if it's Slack or if it's Zoom or if it's Skype or Google Teams or Microsoft Teams or whatever it is. You need to have that human connection. If people are working at home, oddly enough, people tend to do more work at home than they do in the office. That's what some studies I've been reading lately have come out. And they tend to work longer hours. Now, it's a little different with the call center because, they're tied in with your call distributor and things like that, or your CRM, and, off they go. But I think the thing is, when they're working at home, there are some advantages. They can duck out and do the laundry in between calls or whatever. But the thing is, they're on their own. And what a lot of people miss is the interaction with their teammates. It can be a very tough gig. At the best of times, if particularly in the sales environment, a frontline team person can, face more rejection in an hour than, face-to-face salespeople can find in a whole day. So, they need somebody there to pat them on the back. They need somebody there to, tell them it's okay and look, well done, listen to the calls and, and stay connected. I think that's the big thing. Have your little team meetings before, if you're using Zoom, 10, 15 minutes, and then, touch base with them. Skype's great for that sort of thing.
Yep. I think on one of your early points around productivity, the last study I saw, which admittedly was pre-COVID, there was a huge study across 15,000 agents done in China. And they came out that work from home agents were 13% more productive. I haven't seen any local studies come out, but given the amount of people that are working from home, it won't be long before we do see some of those studies. So yeah, there's no doubt that productivity is certainly up. And the only other thing I'd probably add to that, Mark, is around the attributes is good team leaders are good team leaders, regardless of whether they're working in a call center or they're working remotely. They understand the importance of engaging with their teams and committing to regular feedback. It doesn't, you see it happen in call centers all the time. It's an ongoing joke around, my one-on-one's been cancelled because we're too busy. It's been deferred until tomorrow, etc. It's even more important when working remotely that team leaders commit to whatever those sessions are, whether it's a monthly feedback session, weekly, whatever, is to absolutely commit to them. So
and I'll tell you something. Here's a clue that you may have a really amazing team leader, or one who could be, if they are saying to the call center manager or our senior managers, look, I need to talk to these people. You got to give me an opportunity to speak with them. I know Harry, gets frustrated about these sorts of things, and he just needs a little, calming down and stuff. And Joan's got this thing going on with home, and these sorts of, if you hear those things, that's just somebody telling you, look, let me stay connected with my team and keep them on an even keel and keep them up. And if they're doing that, they're halfway through their job.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, no more questions. Keep going.
Okay. Well, no more questions. I've got a question. Okay. And my question is, you want the easy way to create amazing team leaders, whether you're promoting someone from within or recruiting from outside the company. Wouldn't it be great if you had a proven, practical, easy to implement team leader training process that delivers the key foundations for new and existing team leaders so they can consistently reach or even exceed their team's monthly goals? Just imagine how much easier your life would be if you could create amazing team leaders, whose teams consistently hit their targets and KPIs every single month. Just imagine how much different things would be for you if you had team leaders like that. A whole lot different than they are now, I bet. For a start, you'd have a whole lot less stress and frustration, I bet. Justin mentioned earlier, and I alluded to it, I've created a course called the Creating Amazing Team Leaders, which is ideal for people responsible for running call centers that want to develop their own customized team leader training program. It consists of 14 lessons that provide the key foundations for creating amazing team leaders who consistently reach their targets and KPIs. You also get 17 resources, tools, and templates, similar to what I showed you. And you also get the team leader scoring model that team leaders need, to effectively lead their teams, which you can customize to your specific needs, as well as 15 bonus micro training videos with extra tips and training advice you'll find really useful. Now, I've created 2 options that you can choose from that best suit your needs. The first option is this one here. It's the self-paced online course where you can do each lesson at your own pace and come back to it as often as you like over 6 months, so you don't have to spend lots of time away from the call center. And it also gives you plenty of time to implement each of the 7 pillars, learn it 1 week, train your team leaders in it the next week, and then roll it out to the general team the week after. So you can do that. And as I said, you got it over 6 months. The other option, if you want more help from me, this is the option you want to look at. It's live online training that you would do with a small group of people just like you for 2-hour sessions each week over 4 weeks. We'll do the trainings using Zoom, and I'll personally walk you through all the lessons and help you customize all the resources for your particular call center situation, and answer any questions you have, and basically hold your hand through it. And as you can see there, Justin's asked me to help you guys that have come from CX Central and also from the course from this workshop today to get a discount off that. And I think, Justin, we also did something for the self-paced as well, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a big, whoops, am I on mute? No, I'm not. Yeah, there is a special there as well. It's listed on the course as well. So either way, whether you want to do the self-paced course or you want to do the live course, there's some discounts available.
Okay, so, again, we've done that because you guys are here today. So also, you'll notice down the bottom of the slide, there's my email address. If you want to send me an email, just mention you were here at the workshop and or viewed the workshop on the replay, and more than happy to send you the slide deck. And unless there's any more questions, I guess that's it for today.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Again, whether you're watching this live or you're going to be watching this on the replay, this will be available on our YouTube channel if you are watching it live. If you're watching it recorded, you probably already know that because that's where you are. If you haven't already subscribed to CX Central, also just put the link there in the comments as well. It's completely free to join. We're not trying to sell you anything, but there's some great tools that you can download, but you only can download them if you've actually signed up. We don't spam your inbox because I hate getting bloody emails all the time, so we won't spam you. You choose the content that we send you, so it doesn't get any easier than that. We also just put our new Erlang C calculator on there. It's one of our most downloaded tools globally, and version 4 just came out literally last week, so it's a pretty cool addition. And we've just introduced a pro version as well, which is I think it's $80 or something as well, which is a bargain because it's seriously the best tool out there that I've literally seen. I'm a bit biased because it's on my site, but we spent years developing it. So if you're interested in working out how many agents you need to hit service levels and modeling different things, what happens if we reduce our AHT, what impact does that has on service levels, etc. It's a great tool. So that's it from us. Thanks for joining as per usual. We try and do lots of webinars as best we can coming up and provide lots of free content. So we really appreciate you joining in. And if you've got any questions at all, you've got Mark's email address, or of course connect with us on LinkedIn, where everyone seems to connect these days, and drop us a message there. Otherwise, thanks everyone for watching.
Yes, and if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, more than happy to connect there. Just mention that you came across the workshop. I'd love to hear from you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.